Well, it's interesting, actually, way back long ago when we first sort of started our technology and had sort of a vision for Dark Sector. It was very sci-fi, as anybody who's sort of been following the project has seen. It started off as a very sci-fi game, and then eventually, over the course of designing the story and experimenting with the gameplay, we decided to bring the game back down to Earth and bring it to present day and make it a little more contemporary. What's interesting about Dark Sector is it is set in a kind of this dark, gritty, fictitious town of Lasria, a contemporary setting. But we have this infection that sort of takes over Hayden and has taken over a lot of the inhabitants of Lasria. So we have this really great contrast between our sort of dark, gritty, contemporary setting and this much wilder element of the infection, of the infected people within Lasria and the creatures and monsters that you encounter. So we felt it was a really nice balance between something that the player would be familiar with in terms of the gritty contemporary setting and this wilder, more outlandish element that gets introduced and obviously built upon over the course of the game until you obviously get to areas of the game where this has really gotten out of control, and it provides a nice contrast between the two.
So when you first started the game, without giving too much away, you play the game as regular Hayden before he's infected, and his animation set in there is very, it's just very proficient at what he has to do. He has the basics. He shoots his weapons well, he takes cover very well, and he breaks necks. When we give him the glaive, which kind of is the next phase of Hayden, which is really what the game's about, Hayden is. That's where we really push the dynamics of the animation. We give Hayden, much bigger poses, much more dynamic poses. There's just a level of ferocity to his animation when he has the glaive in his hand that really kind of conveys to the player that, that they're in charge of the situation.
Hayden was a really interesting progression. I think he went through almost 5 complete iterations until he got to his final form. And we just wanted somebody who looked like, a real person. He starts off as an agent, a CIA type agent character who's got a shady past. And we wanted him to be cool looking, to be aspirational, and just to be an interesting character.
Our animation objectives through Dark Sector were to give a really immersive cinematic feel to the gameplay. The first thing you'll notice when you're playing the game is that there's no HUD aspects immediately until you hold down the aim, and we'll bring up the important information such as ammo counts and reticle. But we tried to clear the screen with as much visual noise as possible. We have a really fluid camera system for when you do contextual actions in the game. The camera will kind of highlight you in the most ideal situation to kind of really give that sense of dynamics to Hayden, that he's, really kind of exploit how comfortable he is in this game setting and just how good he is at what he does. And what he does is pretty brutal, so that's something else that we explored in the game quite a lot. Outside of the core combat of the guns and throwing your glaive, there's also what we call finishing moves, where you can do pretty elaborate kill moves on enemies, and again, the camera will kind of go into its ideal position to kind of really frame and highlight and show off just how good Hayden is at what he does. The overall feel that we want to convey in the game is we definitely want the player to feel comfortable being a presence in the game. We don't want them to feel really kind of too cautious. There's definitely aspects in the game where we'll bring out a tense feeling with darkness and monsters. But we want Hayden to feel like he is the predator in the game. So we want the gamer to feel empowered. They're pushing forward. The enemies, for the most part, are scared of Hayden and definitely reacting to him like he's the monster.